What's up, everyone? Today I want to talk about this song, Blackbird, and specifically I want to talk about the first few bars. This sound is incredible to me. And I think when we listen to something we like, it's really important to understand what's happening there, because once we hear something that resonates with us on any level, we can learn about ourselves, about guitar, and about music through that. So I want to look at this piece of music, if you will, and see what's happening there and see how we can use it and see how we can create with that and understand the chords behind it and how we can adjust them. So what we're talking about in this little piece of music is the idea, for me, of motion. We are located in the key of G major. But what's happening here is I'm playing the chord G, beautiful triad, really, really nice voicing here. And you can do different things, but I like this kind of shape. This is 3 and 4 here, and I'm using the D open strings. I have, and what I'm doing in this motion is I'm going between G major root position into first inversion. So that means is that the chord G so is actually resonating throughout this part, but there is motion. And when we're talking about first inversion, is basically playing the same good old G, but with the bass of B. So check this out. That sound is first inversion. What's interesting also is that we have this passing chord, which is this A minor here, into that G first inversion. You can keep that D ringing. And then I went here to G major 7 because I think it's really nice, and you can do a little hammer on if you wanted to. But let's look at how we can expand on this idea and understand what's happening here. Oh, if you want to get the most out of this video, there is a full transcription with tabs and notation for this video. Please check it out. There's also a 1-week trial, a free 1-week trial on Patreon. Thanks. Because if we have just one chord, you have G major for a bar or 4 bars, what do? Well, this is actually a great device that you can utilize to create this motion, basically moving between the inversions of G major. So there are 3 shapes that are very, very helpful from the 6th string. This is the first one, this is root position. Again, you can see it in that bar chord, but I'm just grabbing those 2 notes and I'm utilizing the open D string here. From here, I'm going here to this sound, but I'm going to add the G for now. So we'll have this kind of shape so we don't have to use open string. So this will be our G first inversion. This is 7, 5, and 5. And then I'm going to go to this shape here for G second inversion. Just imagine you have one bar of G major, but you play, which gives us a lot of beauty because there's motion in the bass. So, Si, La, 1, 3, 5, but also there is motion in the melody. Right, the top note for me, this note here, is basically the melody. So it also gives me the ability and allows me sort of like an intro for chord melody, because I can hear Si, La, Sol, Di, Da, Da. So although I have one chord, one G major chord, there's a lot of beauty that I find in this motion that makes it very personal. Now, I'm going to add another layer here. So we added this A minor as a passing chord, but there are more options there. If we just have a piece of music, again, this is G major, and I want to create a little bit of more interest in that motion, I can add a passing diminished chord. Why? Well, first listen how it sounds. Really beautiful. But again. So what's happening here is I'm utilizing this diminished shape. So this is a diminished shell chord shape, which I really like. I'm using 5, 4, and 4, and this is the 6th string, this is the 4th string, and this is the 3rd string. And this sound is actually this idea of tension and release. What I mean by that? So when you have a 1 chord, this is the tonic, this is sort of the resolution. So by adding this diminished chord, I'm creating tension. You feel there's a little bit of tension, almost like a glue that sends us back home, and the send is here to this first inversion. So I'm creating this like sort of like rise and fall resolution, tension, resolution, more tension, and I can go back to my first inversion or even to the root position. So again, by playing these little chords, I'm adding so much to the music, and I also understand how things sound and how they function. Again, let's sing the bass for a second. So, si, do, si, la, so. One more time. So, la, si, do, si, la, so. There are two things to mention here. So first, I use 1, passing diminished chord to the first inversion, and I played another diminished chord. Now this diminished chord has sort of like a double meaning, and you can move these diminished chords in minor thirds apart. And the reason this C diminished has a double meaning is because this specific voicing also sounds like a minor 6 chord. What I mean by that, this is C, this is E flat, so this sounds like C minor, and this is A, so this is kind of an a C minor with a 6. So in this context of G major, it is indeed a passing diminished chord that can go here, but it also sounds like the 4 minor, which is beautiful. Again, check this out. There is some pain in that chord, and it is really, really beautiful, and it is derived from the minor tonality. So I'm kind of cheating a little bit because I'm exceeding from the G major scale, and I'm using something that is supposed to go to G minor, but because I'm kind of hitting that painful spot, this C minor 6, and I'm going back to major, there is a big, beautiful relief. So again, listen one more time. 1, passing diminished chord, 1 first inversion, 4 minor. And I can keep going here to the 1, or I can just slide back. Cool. So now I want to try and add another element here. And the element that I want to add is the open string. Check this out. What I did here is really simple. I just literally played this E open string, but in the context of G major scale, this E is functioning as the 6. Here, again, as a passing chord, it still works. First inversion with this E again still works, the 6, and on the C minor, I played this voicing and gave it a little bend. One of the most beautiful moments in music is when we take an exercise that sounds kind of methodic into real music, and that can happen pretty quickly once you just play it in time. I didn't do a lot, but what I did was clear enough rhythmically so we can kind of hear a pulse. Now, a lot of times people want to try and learn a lot of things at the same time. What I'm suggesting here is making sure we understand the elements, we hear the elements, and we feel emotionally the elements. It's extremely important when you look at these harmonic progressions to understand intellectually what's happening, but also emotionally tag this information. So please take a second and ask yourself the question of how does it sound? How does it feel to you? Let's listen again. 1. Passing chord diminished, has some pain, has some tension, resolved to the first inversion G major, and then goes to this 4 minor 6, maybe this shape. Okay, now there's one more layer that I added. I added a little bit of a double stop. So what I was doing here is pretty simple. I used the C minor pentatonic, but I used two notes. So kind of hammering on from fret 6 to fret 8, and then a little. You don't have to play exactly what I did, but it can be an inspiration in the sense of oh, I can use double stops, I can use a filler line. And when I'm doing that, I'm still thinking about the motion of harmony. I'm still tagging the information. I'm really thinking so, C1 first inversion, Do 4 minor, da, da, da. Cool. I'm gonna take one more example in the G major tonality, and here I'm going to start with this chord as well, but I'm going to use a secondary dominant. I'm gonna add some open strings, and I'm still gonna go to the C and the C minor. So I'm using the same harmonic whorl, but with one big change, which is the B7. But check this out. So in terms of shapes, I use G major, B7, but what's interesting is I also use the open string, but I also added this E on top, which is sort of like a wrong note, but because it's ringing, there's this motion, and it's going to be resolved to C major, and I played C major 7 here, 8, 9, 9, and then the E is still resonating, so kind of vibrating, so we have this this kind of lushness, and then to the 4 minor. Let's listen to it one more time, and in this time when we're listening, I'm thinking about the harmonic progression. I'm thinking about 1, 5 of 6 that goes to the 4 and 4 minor. So, si, do, do. And I can almost say the harmonic progression. I'll do it slower. 1, 5 of 6 to the 4, 4 minor. What I am suggesting here is trying to take simple elements, trying to take the G major scale and see how the open strings, seeing how the sounds relate to each other. One last thing that I would recommend is trying to take indeed these dyads. This is a 13, or basically a third with an octave displacement, and seeing the G major scale here. So the 1, La the 2, B the 3, C the 4, D the 5, E minor 6, F sharp the 7, and G. And even just with that, I can find a lot of beauty. You can play it in time, you can play it out of time, but what I'm trying to see here is the scale. I'm trying to understand how it sounds, how it works, and I'm trying to take little things like what we did with the passing chord and find the music in it. Would be really cool if everybody that is into that would try to write a little song. Please drop a comment and let me know how things are going. Thank you for watching. I'll see you very soon. Peace out.